But breathing wise, so ribs move, belly moves, ribs move in concert, as we call it in my world, with the abdominal musculature. The other big thing, and I've seen this, it's surprisingly high rates in athletes, mouth breathing versus nose breathing. We should ideally never be breathing through our mouth, unless we're doing extreme exercise, and then again, just like with what we just talked about, breathing is adaptive, so your body will do.
You know, like I don't mean to interrupt you, but like we have a TAC fit, we have a Club L certification going on, and there's like everything is broken down by the Scott Sonnen, the creator, right? Everything is broken down like ridiculously, And my introduction to TAC fit was actually after my UFC fight, because they call like UFC jitters. My nervous system wasn't ready yet for the fight or flight. That was just the lights. It was the semi-main event right before the main event. Anyway, it was just too much for me. I thought I was been in through everything, and I'm pro, but it was too much, and so I ended up and I wasn't trained the right way too. But all that added up, and I was chest breathing, so I was over breathing. He's like, I was like, you breathe too much, but I wasn't breathing the right way. Right, and so that was my introduction of TAC fit, that luckily I found because of that situation. So who knows what's good and what's bad, but because I found that, because I had that happen later on, I got connected with Scott Sonnen, and then because of that, I found TAC fit, and because of TAC fit, I was able to help me with my MS and everything else.
And it helps. I mean, again, breathing is what we do since the moment we were born, and
right. But just having that lack of understanding, awareness of what's happening, right?
It's profoundly. I mean, not just nervous system regulation through breathing is everything. Because if your nervous system is just regulated, you don't think straight. You don't. I mean, your reparative functions don't function normal. Like nothing works optimally. But nose versus mouth breathing, and if once it's kind of hard to unknow. But if you observe. Even your people, again, in my line of work, I've seen a lot of athletes, especially including young ones, that shouldn't have any reason necessarily, should have fewer reasons to mouth breathe, because it can be more prevalent as we get older. But there's quite a bit of mouth breathing, and I'm talking about habitual mouth breathing. So, like when you're sitting and doing a podcast and you're mouth breathing. When
it's
you're
funny,
in your car.
I just remember there's an Instagram with mouth breathers, and it has like these like funny, crazy, like from 80s, like just weird videos. Don't be a mouth breather.
There are all kinds of negative associations, and some, so, but from the perspective of performance, not even just optimal health, optimal health and performance, because those two are obviously linked. But your nose is there again, going back to nature. Everything is there
for a reason.
Yes, and it's not just for decoration. It has multiple functions. Although for some people it's not decoration, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
So it warms up the air, humidifies the air, conditions the air. We produce nitric oxide in the paranasal sinuses. So when you breathe through your nose, you ingest the nitric oxide, which allows to dilate blood vessels and respiratory passages. So you breathe better, and you have better blood circulation.
I love when you talk about all this stuff. I'm like, I nerd out. I love these things,
One nerd to another.
Yeah, and so like I went to a fascia conference years ago, and they were just talking about the right and the left, how you breathe in through one nostril, and the other nostril you get all these different things. It's not the same thing,
Yes.
So how you
can
breathe,
activate different hemispheres
the ability,
of the brain.
Exactly, and to be able to control that is.
And so what happens? So again, the nose. That's what what I've mentioned. But when we don't use it, if we're mouth breathing habitually, the tissues in the nose are gonna swell up. So the less you use your nose, the more stuffed up it is. So for those of us who,
if you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Yes, and then when it's stuffed up and the tissues are inflamed and swollen, you can't breathe as easily. So you go to breathe and it feels uncomfortable, so you go back to mouth breathing. But there are ways to open up the nose, and that's where buteyko breathing methods come in.